Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In today's review we're going to be taking a look at the newly released Mechanical Team MT-03 Long Haul. This once again is another upscaled and slightly enhanced version of the Transformers Studio Series Long Haul. Now if you are in the market for picking this figure up, it is available and in stock right now over at the Icon store, and for that of course I will leave a link down in the description box below, and be sure to use discount code Prime vs Prime for a discount off of your total order. Taking a look here at Long Haul in his vehicle mode, for the most part this is very similar compared to what we actually did get with that of the original Studio Series version. It won't be until we get this figure transformed into robot mode that you'll begin to see some of the stark differences, but taking a closer look here at the details, you can see that for the most part I think the sculpt work has come out exceptionally well, especially here for an upscaled figure. You can see that all of the sculpt work is incredibly crisp and precise, and we have also got some really nice looking paint applications as well as a fantastic looking reflective metallic blue there for the actual cockpit. As we take a look at it from a side profile, you can see that once again very similar in terms of its design to the Studio Series version. As we take a look at the actual truck bed, here is where you may be able to see some of the similarities and of course the differences compared to this and the original version, such as the now articulated fingers as well as these new components here. Personally I think that these here do add to the overall look here of the actual truck bed. Whilst of course it doesn't completely cover this and make it look accurate to the movie, I do think that just adding an extra level of detail really to me makes this look slightly more interesting than compared to the original version. But as we take a look here at the back end of the vehicle mode, one thing to note is that these do tab in a lot better on this particular MT version than they did on the original Studio Series version. They definitely do tab into place than as opposed to just rest there like we got on the original figure. As we turn under to the underside, you can see that he does compact in the exact same way. Due to this figure having an entirely die-cast chest, it does for sure add quite a significant amount of weight to him, which means that he now does roll, in my opinion, a lot nicer than what we got with the original version. And whilst on the topic of the Studio Series release, let's bring it in here for a comparison. You can see that the new version by Mechanical Team is significantly larger than compared here next to our Voyager. This here is more in keeping with what we would now see with some of our modern day leader classes, or perhaps a very small 2010/2011 era leader. This figure for sure is significantly bigger than this particular release, and you can see the differences in terms of the shade of green that they have used. Personally for me, I really do love the new shade that we do get here on the MT version. I believe that it matches what we saw on screen a lot better than compared to this one, which was more of a almost a camo green. It was a lot darker than compared to what we actually saw in the movie. So setting Long Haul here off to the side and getting into the transformation here for the MT-03. First of all, I'm going to be showing you the transformation into combine mode. So you are going to want to take these pieces here and just attach those there to the side. We can then take this section and just untab this and turn to this side, and of course repeat the exact same process. Everything on this figure is held in exceptionally well, and then just untab these back pieces, pull this out ever so slightly, which will then allow you to extend this particular joint, which once again is held in incredibly securely. Of course, come here to this section and repeat the exact same process. So just take this and just pull that section out. With that now done, you can then come to this piece and just separate this here. And then as we turn our attention to these pieces, you're going to want to hinge those outwards, and then at the same time clip the wheels into their new configuration. With that now done, we can ratchet this here all the way back, take the wheels and detach those from the tabs. They are held in by these tabs here, so just arch them backwards. Of course, repeat the same process here on the opposite side. We can then take this piece, and this slot will peg into this tab, so align that up until it clicks into place. Bring this here all the way down. And then you can take the front section of the truck here and shift this forwards. And then now it's more or less just aligning everything back up to how we had it in the truck mode. So just ensure that the fingers do slide into these ports. So just snap those in there. Rotate this section here around. And then align that up appropriately. And just clip that in there. And of course come here to this section. And repeat the exact same process. So just snap that in there. Bring this all the way down, and there we have the MT-03 Long Haul fully transformed up into his combined form. And once again, very similarly to what we saw in the truck mode, for the most part this particular figure here is untouched when compared to his Studio Series release. The only real difference in this particular combined form is that they have added a slew of brand new paint applications, especially where this particular region is concerned. However, in my opinion, I do believe this to be rather pointless, as when we do eventually get Overload from MT Toys, this entire section is indeed going to be completely covered up, as Overload will indeed slide into this, and you won't necessarily see this all that much in robot mode due to the way that the wheels will indeed flip round, and I do believe that these actually become the inner sections of the leg. But nonetheless, the sculpting and detailing, once again, very similarly to that of the truck mode, is very crisp and precise, especially for that of an upscale, and I think that for the most part, the paint applications on this particular release have been applied exceptionally well. There are barely no paint bleeds whatsoever, and as stated, as this figure now has die cast, it for sure does add a great amount of weight for this, and considering this is going to be a foot, I really do believe that you are perhaps going to be able to get this figure into a slightly more dynamic range of motion, as the foot is for sure going to be an incredibly secure platform. Bringing in the original Studio Series version here for a comparison, you can just see here how significantly larger the Mechanical Toys version is actually going to be when compared to here next to the Studio Series. This is for sure Voyager and Leader class comparison, and I really do love what they are doing with these particular figures. I'm extremely eager to see how they are actually going to approach Scavenger and Overload, as of course those figures were originally Leader classes and were quite big figures. So seeing how they've upscaled here the Voyager class, I think that the Leader class upscales could potentially be that of Commander in terms of scale. Unfortunately, I haven't really found any real places to actually store these new components. Personally, I do believe that these are mainly actually meant for the robot mode than any of the other two modes. So unfortunately, as this figure did not come with instructions, I am unable to show you where these are actually supposed to store within this particular combined form. However, I personally haven't found any slots on this whatsoever, not even any of the slots on this particular region, so I'm unsure as to whether or not it is intended to actually store within this mode. But just setting the Studio Series version here off to the side and bringing in a Masterpiece figure, you can see that for sure I think that Mechanical Team or Mechanical Toys are definitely trying to scale their Devastator with that of the Masterpiece figures, as I for sure do believe that this is a pretty decent scale to what we would see in the movie if Bumblebee was to face off against that of Devastator. And so now, turning to the transformation here from combined form into robot mode, surprisingly, it is actually fairly simplistic due to this being just an upscaled of that of the Voyager version. So you're just going to want to detach the legs here, come down to these sections here, and once again, just untab all of this. What we can then proceed to do is take the head and rotate this all the way around. With that now done, we can lift this section here up, and you can see a tab there that will peg into a slot here, and then this tab will peg into there. So just snap that into place, and then take this here and snap that into place, and this too is on a hinge joint, so I recommend just angling it down slightly in order to give off a more movie accurate look. Of course, repeat the same process here on the opposite side. We can then take the legs here, and you're going to want to ratchet these down, rotate the thighs in the proper orientation, repeat the same process here. You're then going to want to rotate that around there to the back, fold out the foot, and of course repeat the same process here on the opposite side. We can then bring the wheels here and clip them in there nice and securely. With that now done, this entire section will come up, and you can see that this will actually peg into this section, and then this piece here will grip onto this, just solidifying that entire backpack into place. And it does actually snap in there really nice and securely, which was something that we didn't get on the original version. Coming around here to the side, you're going to want to take these arm guards, lift those up so that we can according the elbow rotation as well as the shoulder joint around, and then take this here and just collapse that in. Take this piece here, snap that into place, and then of course repeat the same process here on this side. Something which I may have failed to mention in the vehicle mode comparison is that a paint application in which they have gotten rid of is the black stripe that we do get on this particular section. Personally for me, I would have loved it if they could have kept that paint app, as I really do believe it adds some colour to the overall vehicle mode and stop it from just being a completely green vehicle. But nonetheless, I think that the paint apps in the robot mode for sure more than make up for it. So just snap that section into place, and there we have Long Haul more or less completely transformed. And then here for some finishing touches, you're going to want to bring in the new components that we do get with this figure, and you're going to want to align them in a position which looks something along the lines of this, and they will clip nice and securely into place. And you can just see here for comparison how that does completely fill in this hollow gap, and once again does add some more detail, and in my opinion really does complete the overall look here for Long Haul's robot mode. So take this piece here once again and just snap that in there nice and securely. And there we have the MT-03 fully transformed up into what is, in my opinion, a really solid looking robot mode. Taking a look here at Long Haul in his robot mode, once again, for the most part, the figure is more or less identical when compared to that of his original Studio Series version. However, in my opinion, the changes that they have made, not only to the paint applications, but actually to the sculpt, make this particular release here, in my opinion, the better figure. And considering this figure is roughly only $10 or £10 more, depending on where you are in the world, than that of the original Voyager version, I for sure do believe that this figure here is more than worth the price point. Bringing him in here for a closer look, the paint applications to the head sculpt I think look absolutely terrific. You can see all of the fantastic silver highlights there that we do get for the actual top section of Longhaul's head, and once again I do think that the sculpt work on this figure looks incredibly precise. We also do have some red piercing eyes, and I love how that they have painted these gears here on the actual undersection of Longhaul's face, and they have also painted the mandibles there in a really awesome metallic silver. As we take a look here for the torso, just so much more silver paint application than what we got on the original version. And one thing to note is that this entire chest piece here is indeed a die-cast material, so as stated in the combined mode, this figure here for sure feels like a very substantial piece. As we take a look here at the shoulders, you can see all of that wiring detailing which has been painted really nicely, and I love all of the detailing and paint applications that we do indeed get here for the top section of Longhaul. As we take a look here at the arms, you can see that the shoulders have been completely painted, as so have the forearms, and you can see we also do have some really nice looking paint apps there for the fingers. And something worth mentioning is that they have completely remolded this particular section so that Longhaul now has articulated fingers, which was something that we did not get on the original version. And once again, in my opinion, I do think that these look a lot better and a lot more accurate to what we see in the movie than compared to the original version. Unfortunately, as stated previously, we no longer have the black strip that is actually on the arm guard. However, they have painted the missiles, which once again, in my opinion, looks a lot more movie accurate and gives these particular pieces here a purpose, as initially I didn't believe that the moulding looked all that great, as they were just moulded in a green plastic. This time, as they are now painted in red, you can for sure tell on what they are supposed to be. As we take a look here for the lower section, once again the paint applications continue, and in my opinion I think that these look fantastic. You can see there on the sides of the thighs an incredibly thick figure, and then as we take a look here to the inner sections, you can see that this is all painted, as so have the back of the legs, and once again with the new filler sections, it just completes the look here of Longhaul and definitely adds an extra layer of detail, as we now have this hydraulic section which was missing on the original release. In terms of articulation, they have actually strengthened up some of the joints as well, so some joints in which were just hinge joints on the original release are now ratchet joints. So we do get a ball joint here at the head which can look down as well as up, as well as left to right. In my opinion, the range of motion has actually been excelled by the changes in terms of the moulding, as I do believe it was rather difficult to actually manipulate the original Longhaul's head. However, you can see here I am having no issues whatsoever. We do get swivel joints here forwards and backwards, as well as ratchet joints here out to the sides, which was something which was missing on the original release. That used to just be a hinge joint. As we take a look here, we do get a swivel joint just above where the elbow is, and then a hinge joint here at the elbow. And as stated previously, the fingers here are individually articulated on 2 points, so one there at the base and then one here at the knuckle, and that goes for all 4 fingers. As we take a look here at the torso, we do get a really heavy duty ratchet joint, as this will of course be the ankle rocker joint when we do get Longhaul in combined form. So that in my opinion is fantastic to see. They have really strengthened up that ratchet joint. We do get ratchet joints here out to the sides, which was something that we did get on the original release. However, the clicks for sure do feel slightly tighter. We do also get a hinge joint here out to the side, a swivel joint here at the thigh, as well as a 90-degree bend here at the knee. We do also get ankle rocker pivot, which can pivot forwards and backwards. So overall, in terms of robot mode, as far as the overall look, sculpt work and paint applications goes, I really do believe that this figure is near enough flawless. Now, comparing him here to the significantly expensive Devil Savior version of Longhaul, I really do believe that it's going to be up to the collector's own personal preference on what design they do prefer. In my personal opinion, whilst I do believe that this figure here has the better combined form, I do believe that this particular MT-03 and even the Studio Series release had a better look for the robot mode. And of course, as this figure is upscaled, he's more in keeping with that of the Masterpiece scale. So for sure, if you are after a very accurate looking movie masterpiece representation of Longhaul, I for sure do believe that you are going to more than get your worth with this particular release. Something also worth noting is that this figure here is actually half the price compared to this particular release. Now granted, this is an entirely new sculpt and has got its own unique engineering, whereas this one is just merely an upscale. But once again, I do think that cost is something that you will have to factor into these particular figures in whether or not you really want to pay $80 per piece or $40 per piece, depending on what particular style of Devastator you do wish to have in your collection. Whilst on the topic of movie masterpiece, I just quickly here want to give you a comparison next to the MPM Bumblebee. Whilst I don't believe the scale is 100% accurate to the movie, I for sure do believe that it's pretty close. You can see that Bumblebee is significantly smaller than compared here next to Longhaul, and in terms of an MPM display, I for sure do believe that this can work. Moving Bumblebee here off to the side and bringing in one final comparison, here we have have the original Studio Series version, and you can once again see the significant increase in terms of the paint applications that we now do get on this release and compared to the standard version. And in my opinion, I really do love the lighter shade of green that we now get on the MT version than as opposed to the Studio Series release. And you can truly see here the upscale in terms of the overall scaling. I really do believe that this is a large leader class, or what would now be classed as a 2010/2011 leader figure. And so some final thoughts here for the Mechanical Team 03 Long Haul. As stated in my previously reviewed MT02 Scrap Metal, I personally do believe that these figures are a perfect substitute for those collectors who do not want to spend $80 to $120 per Constructicon and still really want a really nice representation of Devastator on their shelf whilst in keeping with the Masterpiece scale. I really do believe that these figures here are for sure worth their asking point. You are not only getting die-cast materials with this release, but you are getting a slew of new paint applications, a drastic increase in terms of the scale, and I really do believe that the paint applications have been applied incredibly well, especially in terms of the differences between this release and of course the original version. So in all, I really do recommend this figure. Of course, for those of you who are set on picking up the Devil Savior versions, these particular releases are probably not going to appeal to you all that much. However, for those of you who have perhaps missed out on the actual official Studio Series Devastator and are now looking for an MP substitute, I really do believe that these figures here are going to be great for their value. So with all that being said, this figure is now available and in stock over at the Icon store. So for that, of course, I will leave a link down in the description box below, and be sure to use discount code Prime vs Prime for a total discount off of your order. I really do hope that you enjoyed my review, and until my next review, I'll see you then. Thanks for watching.